So you worked as a assistant, production assistant, when you were younger. You worked for him, and he raped you, basically. And there are a lot of complications to your story with him. But when you heard the verdict come in, what was your first reaction? Were you surprised that it was in favor of the women?
I mean, I'm not sure I was surprised, but relieved, very relieved. Just really relieved and grateful. I mean, at first I was just I think I'm still processing it, to be honest with you. And so it was kind of just, I didn't know what to feel. But obviously relief is like the main.
Yeah.
You did testify at the trial. You testified.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So he was in the courtroom with you?
He was.
Was he looking at you?
Only when I don't know. I don't think he saw me because I was sitting kind of behind. But obviously I had to identify him at one point. And so we looked at each other,
So the reliving experience must have been horrible for you, to have to go through that again and again. And a lot of times lawyers, the other side is not easy. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, it's been a really draining and just frankly terrifying process. And it's taken a long time, too. It's been dragging on because the trial date was changed so many times. And it's been very, it's just been, scary. And
it is scary.
Thank
you for your bravery.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's not an easy thing to do what you did. It's hard.
No, I also thank all the women that came forward before me that actually created this environment where I felt safe to speak out and supported to speak out. And so, yeah.
And I want to say that really MiMi is a hero. He is convicted of criminal sexual assault in reference to MiMi, and that carries the longest potential prison term, 10 to 25 years. And she survived and thrived under the cross-examination, which was brutal. It was intense. It was invasive. And it went on for a very long time. But she stood in her truth. She was not intimidated. She was not allowing herself to be bullied or shamed. She just kept her head up high. And she knew that if she just told the truth in the interests of justice, there would be a positive outcome. And it's due to her and her courage. And I really commend her on that.
And it's really hard to do. I mean, it's so hard to do, as you know. And that's why rape is one of the most, I think it is the most underreported crime in our country, because women don't feel supported and they don't think that they'll be believed. But let me ask you this. While he was convicted according to her allegations, he wasn't convicted of some of the other counts. Why do you think that is?
Well, he was convicted of one count of rape, and he was not convicted of sexually predatory conduct.
Yeah.
And yes, and
Which seems to be so obvious. He was clearly a predator, is clearly a predator.
Well, and the main witness on that was my client, Annabella Shora.
Yes.
And I am so proud of her.
Yes.
And everybody in the courtroom told me that she was such an amazing witness.
Yes.
I mean, really exceptional. She just would refuse to be rattled, and she just told her truth, and it took a long time for them to cross-examine her. She made so many sacrifices in the interest of justice. Her time, her emotions, so much time with law enforcement and others, and in the courtroom. And I'm just so proud of her. And I think that there are jurors who did believe Annabella Shora. It's just that they felt that it didn't rise to the level of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But I admire her courage and all of the courage of the women who come forward, because if they're not willing to testify in a court of law, then people who prey on women will never be convicted. So this is a new age. It's the legal reckoning, and women refuse to be silent about injustices against them anymore.
Is Annabella disappointed? Is she disappointed?
I will let her speak for herself when she's ready. But she knew, I hope, that what she did was really important. no matter the result.
Of course.
And by the way, there's going to be an LA prosecution as well that's going to follow right after the sentencing of Mr. Weinstein, also known as the defendant, the convicted felon at this point. There's going to be a move of him to Los Angeles very quickly after the sentencing. And there he's going to be prosecuted, and there are going to be 2 other victims, and one of them is also my client. And she did testify in this New York criminal case as a prior bad act witness, a Molyneux witness, similar to what happened in the Bill Cosby case. But she is one of the 2 victims in the LA case. And you're going to see more women who are going to be testifying in that LA case as well. So I think Mr. Weinstein is in a world of trouble. And this is not going to end for a while.
Well, Gloria, yes, I don't disagree with that. I have to ask this. Our producer wanted us to. MiMi had continued communication with Weinstein after the assault. You feel that it's very important for everyone to understand why this is so common. Tell us about that.
It is very common.
Yes, it is very common. And this is the kind of issue that has generally not been prosecuted by prosecutors in the past. I'm sure Sonny would agree to that. Because a lot of prosecutors didn't want to take the risk of potentially losing a case because they thought that maybe juries wouldn't believe that a person was sexually assaulted or raped if they had continued communication. But Dr. Barbara Ziv, who was the expert for the prosecution in this case, expert on rape and sexual assault, testified that actually most rape and sexual assault cases are not strangers in a dark alley raping a woman. It's somebody they know. It's an acquaintance. And they often do have continued communication after. It's complicated. In the Bill Cosby case, Andrea Constant, the victim, she had continued communication. And once she explained why, it was the context of her employment, the jury believed her, and he was convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's another case of continued communication, and yet the jury still convicted Mr. Weinstein. So all of you who may have been sexually harassed or sexually abused in the workplace or business, or have other reasons for continued communication, maybe it's a family member, know that this is a new day, and it may be the prosecutors will also prosecute the case against someone who hurt you as well.
Sometimes these defendants, you know, these people that are predators, they also groom these victims. It's very confusing behavior. People need to understand that there's a pattern and a practice. These are serial predators.
And they manipulate the victim.
They're very
and they take advantage of their position of power.
Of
against someone who does not have as much power. And I can tell you, if you're rich, if you're powerful, if you're famous in some way.
If you're rich and powerful, famous, and we catch you, you're going to trial.